All right, the drought is over. For a golf gear review guy, we are swimming in tall cotton. Let's see what we are going to talk about next. Welcome back to the Golf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is where we talk about golf club repairs, reviews, and fittings, all so your scores can go low. If you would, like, subscribe, hit that stuff across the bottom. And join us Mondays at 5:30 Eastern Time, 17:30 for Across the Pond, for a live stream. And we talk about the same kind of stuff. It's more one-on-one. You don't have to ask about the topic of this video. You can ask anything you want about golf equipment, opinions, how to do things, that kind of stuff. You will enjoy it, I assure you. Please join us on Mondays. All right. So, back from the PGA show, and it is now, the silly season's over, and it is time to get into the new stuff. You're starting to see releases. Of course, drivers are always the big thing because why? They're ego clubs, right? It's all about getting off the tee. There could be some debate on whether or not that is the most important club in the bag. I would say no, but it's very important because how are you going to have bragging rights over your buddies if you don't outdrive them, right? However, what I like starting with, and because it helps me get my swing back in the game, I start with irons. I know it's backwards, and I know that it's not very popular, but you use your irons more than you use your driver. All right, and I think it's very important to go over these. So we're going to go across the mix of all the irons, and we're going to come back and do hybrids and woods, and then we'll talk about them all. So again, what are we getting into? SRIXON. All right, SRIXON. Now, SRIXON has won the category of feel for a couple of years now, with the softness of the carbon steel that they use, maybe the design that they have. It could be the V-sole, whatever it is you want to call it that they're doing. However, they've changed what they're doing again this time around. Actually, this has been a pretty good crowd, right?
Yeah. I mean, compared to the last few years, I think it's been on the way up, honestly.
Yeah, I think just a little bit. Last year, they were kind of like, you know, it was all gloom and doom, and they said, well, you know what, it wasn't really bad. And then now I'm looking at it today, and normally by noon or 2 o'clock, this place is a ghost town, and there it is.
Yeah.
We're still going strong.
Yeah, especially at our booth, a lot of excitement over the new stuff and people hanging around and wanting to experience it in person.
And I think that's a lot, right? There's only just so much you can do on a Zoom call or something like that, right? You get and let's face it, this is tactile, right? You gotta have this, right? Yeah. And go bash a few balls, and you're in pretty good shape. Alrighty, so here we go. Still day one. We're in the SRIXON booth. Of course, you guys know I carry the product, and I'm a fitter for these guys. What we have here is Casey, a senior project manager, and he's going to basically take us through what all the improvements that SRIXON and Cleveland have done to the product so that it makes it want to jump in your bag.
All right.
There you go. How about that? All right, so let's get started. What do we got?
Yeah, I've got the 5, 7, and 4 irons here. So the biggest new technology we have throughout the lineup is iForge technology. So we've worked with our forging vendors to go even softer and even better feel on our irons. I think what this is most noticeable on is the 7 series this time around.
Okay.
So what we've applied here is a condensed forging technique. Essentially, we've added sort of a ribbing structure that we mash into the hosel of each iron to strengthen that part while using a softer material on the iron as a whole. So I got a question for you. You go softer on an iron, what's going to happen after a few rounds of play?
You're checking loss and lies.
Exactly. So that's what that technology is designed to do, is to strengthen the area that'll keep the product consistent, yet feel a little bit better across the face for that overall performance with this S15C material we have in the 7 series, along with a little bit more mass behind the ball with our pure frame adoption this generation to further improve that feel for a player who's really looking for it in that iron.
Now, does it change? I know there was a difference between pure frame and main frame.
Correct.
Where does it switch?
Yeah, so it switches from the 5 series on throughout the rest of the set. So the 5 series, 4 series, and the utility irons have that mix of channels milled into the back of the face for that maximum ball speed with our mainframe technology.
And that's where mainframe comes in.
Correct.
So are we saying that the 7 is probably more of a what we call a pure forged concept?
Sure. Yeah,
where the 5 and the 7 might be a blend of something else.
Yeah. The 7 is going to be your one-piece forging that's more designed for that feel and consistency above all else, while the 5 and the rest of the line is more designed to be a mix of that feel plus forgiveness plus distance to kind of target a wider range of players that aren't only looking for that feel and control.
Well, you know, and across the industry, SRIXON's been winning the feel game
Yes.
for at least the last couple of years. I mean, you put them up against anything, and you know, it's got that soft, it's got that, you know, that takeoff just like that, and that's just but what's win the hearts of golfers, basically, right?
Yeah.
So it's just now a matter of finding the difference. So if we compare a 7 to a 5, what are we looking at the difference here?
Yeah, so the 7's going to have a little bit more ball speed, or sorry, the 5's going to have a little bit more ball speed. It's going to have that mainframe technology, a little bit of stronger lofts for a player who's looking to get a little bit more forgiveness and distance across their iron set. On tour, this means that the 5 series is played a lot in the 5 iron and the 4 iron in sort of a mixed combo set.
Okay.
And then the 7 series is very popular on up through the rest of the bag. At address, we also make sure that those irons combo extremely consistently. So you're going to get a very similar top line, not too varying of offset, and overall a set that, you know, wherever you want to make that transition from a 7 to a 5, we do more combo sets than just about anybody, and that blend is going to be extremely seamless in both performance as well as cosmetics.
And the fact that it's a forged soft iron and making loft adjustments is a cinch, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's basically a cinch.
It's
So what do we got? So who do we got in 7s on the staff?
Sure. So Brooks Koepka is going to be in your 7s.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then some players like Shane Lowry are going to be using that combo set.
got
So
right behind you.
7s through 5s. It's going to be a really popular mix for Shane, and a lot of the other players are going to be, you know, putting a mixed bag in play.
So what I noticed when my rep showed up with ours is that it looked like we did a little bit of monkeying around with sole width.
Oh yeah.
Did we do that, or is it just my perception being off?
They're very similar. I think there's been some subtle tweaks. We always
Just a
refine
little
each
bit, okay.
generation, but I mean, there's a little bit of different chamfering and finishing that can sort of show off that VT sole that we have always had on the irons, and for the first time, I'll actually pull it up now, is featured on the utility iron as well. So first time you've seen
that could be a lot of fun,
that in
right?
person. Yeah.
This one, I saw this one, and I just thought, you know, when everybody, the first, I think one of the very first descriptions that you ever want on it, when somebody looks at an iron and goes, wow, that looks clean.
Yes.
So that was my buddy Casey, project manager, just a very upbeat guy, and we talked about a various amount of things when it comes to the iron. And as we talked about, they are using now a S15C, so that's just basically a carbon steel that's a different model than the S20 that they've used in the past. What does that mean? It means it's softer. And what happens when it's softer? It means it bends easier. What happens when it bends easier? It gets out of shape when you hit the ground a lot. So that's when you hit iron. So what did they do? Well, they stiffened up this area. All right, they stiffened up this area. Now, what happens when you stiffen up that area? Well, you would think maybe it transmits a little bit less feel. Not so much. All right, and so the whole club itself is out of that one kind of steel. They've just reinforced the areas that they need to so that you can have some consistencies when you're beating it up in this particular area. Now, how much is that going to be? That remains to be seen because it's a new model, and over here it's still 30, you know, Mother Nature's fighting for 40 degrees right now. So I'm sure this will come out. However, we did some testing. So what we're going to be showing you here is some testing of, I did the 4, the 5, and the 7. And so what do we do when we talk about these things? So I measure every one of them. We measure for length, we measure for loft, we measure for lie, swing weight, and I leave frequency out because the shafts can be different from one to another. But I did use the same shaft, which is a Modus 105S. All right, so what is the 7? The 7 is the Players Club. Okay, the 7 is the Players Club, and it is going to be the smallest of the clan, right? Is this guy right here? It's the smallest of the clan, and what it is, it has I-frame technology. Basically, what we're saying is this is a one-piece forged club, has V-sole technology on it, and the design on the inside. What they've done is they've compressed in different areas. That was their new forging technique. Compressed in other areas, like twice forging, in order to stiffen up some areas. And if you look, it is right behind the ball. It's reminiscing of a teazoid kind of look if you look at it right there. It's a little reminiscent of that, just in the shape. Not the whole entire club, because there are certainly a lot of differences in it. Plus, again, the sole to me appears to be a hair narrower. And that could just be to the eye. Trailing edge is a little bit relieved, and it's just a real good looking club. And if you look at the top, it's not a butter knife. It's not a butter knife top line, but it is not grossly wide either. It's not rounded, it's actually flat. Alrighty, so how do we do this? So 62-degree lie angle, which they all were in shape for there, and it was a 32-degree lie angle for a 7-iron. I'd call that traditional lofts, okay? I won't say they're strong, I won't say they're weak. I would call it new modern traditional loft. And so what do I expect out of this? Well, I expect to be about 10 yards short of what I normally am. Okay, and that's about where we ended up, as you can see. It was, I will say it was impressive. When they're talking about the feel, they are not kidding. Is this a distance club? For a guy that's in his 60s, no, it is not a distance club. You have to have a pretty doggone good ball striking consistency, and you have to have some swing speed to make this thing go. It is certainly a player's club, and it marries up, and it'll marry up with either the blade that they have, or you could go into the Model 5 and to give it that look at address. They really worked very hard on that particular thing. So what did I think? It is definitely, if you're a digger, you're not going to like this club. If you're a solid ball striker, you're going to love this club, particularly if you have some swing speed. Casey makes no bones about it. This is definitely for the better player, and I would agree. Even when I hit it very, very well, I was struggling to get, to a distance that I liked, and that's because it's not made for me, right? And that's the whole point of fitting. It's a great look at address. It is definitely a club that, if you were a stronger cat, I would certainly look into it. All right, Model 5. Model 5 is where the largest part of the umbrella for their design is going to be. This is for that golfer that's middle of the road. Beginning golfer, no. Better golfer, maybe. Top end of the set, that kind of thing. Now, they're still forged with the S15. It's still softer. Now, if you go to the website, they say the i7 or ZX7 is going to, or ZI7 is going to be 7% softer. That's because of the metal. Now, the way that they do the Model 5, it's going to be 14% softer in the face. Why do they say in the face? Because now we've left iframe, or the iframe technology, which is what they say right here. Pure frame technology, and they go to mainframe technology. Mainframe technology means that they forge some channels into the face so that the face is more forgiving. Now the i5 is just a hair bigger. It has got a noticeably wide sole, even though it is a V sole, and it is also only 1 degree stronger. Now, I don't know if I agree with that particular philosophy. However, when I measured this one, it was actually 2 degrees stronger, and I'm going to leave it there because I believe in the gappings of these things. If you truly want something to be different, then make it a little more different. And these things are so easy to bend, it's scary. So if you have 30, this is 32 instead of, or I'm sorry, 32. This was supposed to be 31. It was actually 30. And then the next one's going to be 28. So I think I have a good gapping in the 7-irons, and I believe that's where they need to be. You want to see something designatedly different. 1 degree is not going to be that much. Alrighty, so we have the same forging technique. We have a little bit different method or different design, so it might be facing back. We're still reinforcing the neck area. And so now we got to go hit this one. Now, if we see this, we see there's definitely a distance progression, literally about what, 3 or 4 or 5 yards, and it's noticeable. Okay. However, I'm not nearly as precise with it. Now, it could be because it's been a while, that kind of thing, and I'm still coming to the inside. And again, why is that? I'm coming to the inside more because the 5 has a little more offset on it. Okay, so that's when we talk about combo setting. If you're going to the top of the set, say a 3, which is a custom thing, or a 4, and you wanted something a little bit stronger, a little more forgiving, then you could do that, but you also have to realize that it has a little more offset, okay? Now, did it feel great? Yeah, it felt pretty good. You know, forged clubs do, but when you get into these in the SRIXONs, when you catch them, it goes. Now, is it all the time? No. I hit my fair share of the chunkers, and which were the ones that I took out so that you could get more of an idea of how these are performing. And but you can, there's no iron you're going to hit perfect every time, so just get used to it. All right, the ZI4, I'm sorry, the ZXi4. There's ZXi 4, 5, and 7. Now this is a hollow body, all right. This is where, when they first started off with this club, had the most room for improvement, and they have done it. All right, it was cosmetically, it was a pathetic club, and now it is a very nice golf club. This has so much bag appeal, it's scary. Again, it has a little bit wider sole, has a little bit more offset. It is certainly stronger. It is for that beginning golfer to mid golfer type player. Again, it has a little more offset and has that mainframe technology in it, where there's certain pathways that are forged into this face. And now this is what you call a forged, right? We'll call it a forged beginning player's golf club. And you don't see that a lot. So that's another uniqueness that SRIXON has. Now we took this one out and we hit in as well. Now this one is 28 degrees. It says 28 and a half. I'll give a half a degree anywhere. 62, and they're all at D2. And they all called out D2 for an S-flex. So the clubs were very, 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 very consistent. We'll give high marks to SRIXON to put out something as far as when you hit in demo that you should expect it when you get it in your hand in product. Now, if you get them from us, we check them all, make sure the loft and lies, everything are good to go prior to you getting it, so there's no guesswork whatsoever. Now, the 4, we hit the 4, and it did exactly what it was supposed to. It went further. In fact, I hit a few. I nuked a few for a 7-iron. I nuked a few out to 175, 180. Now it's a few. I started jumping on it because I started to get confident. When you get confident, you swing better, and it was just getting out there. So yeah, it did exactly what it was supposed to. It felt great. It didn't feel mushy. It felt like I was hitting these other ones, just more forgiving. And with the more offset in it, the more to the right I went, as you guys can plainly see, but it did exactly what we called on for it to do. Alrighty, so again, we want to thank Casey for doing an interview with us at the PGA show. Thank you, SRIXON, for allowing that to happen. And we take a look at this. Now, they do have a driving iron. I do have it in there, but it was not in left-handed, so we're going to take away from that one. And driving irons are kind of a unique animal anyway, in the fact that they didn't work for everybody, okay? But I will say I've done some testing with the hybrid with some other golfers, hybrid and the fairway wood, and I am shocked at some of the results, how good they were. So we're going to see some of that. So back to the iron. So they say, it's power and power and stability, right? That's just what they're talking about. Did they deliver? The answer is yes. So far, the feel is just what you would expect from a SRIXON iron. Their performance is exactly what you would expect from a SRIXON iron. You have the certain lofts going the certain distances. Now for me, I am a guy that pulls to the inside, and it did exactly where I expected it to go. All right, and so we did that, and using a shaft that I like to use. So there's no unexpected surprises. Would I combo set these? Well, I'm not strong enough to use the 7, but if I was strong enough to use the 7, yes, I probably would. And it's only the top 2 clubs, right? I wouldn't go any more than that and go from there. So the beveled sole, or the V sole, what they use on there, and the integration of tungsten in some of their clubs, they've done just a really fine job on making a set of irons, okay? And so if you're looking for a new set of irons, I would not count these guys out, particularly if you're a person that just has to have a forged club. These are a club that I would certainly check out. So if you have any more questions about the SRIXON iron, put them in the show notes, or visit us on the live stream and ask them then, and I can just show you. We do have a what they call a fitting cart, which is like the world's biggest golf bag, and it is just crazy to see. And just ask them and see what you might find something that you like. Okay, as usual, again, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. Join us on the live stream, and as always, let's see your scores go low.